Hey guys, hope you're having a great season out there. Here at the holidays, we celebrate the coming of Christ in the Incarnation. And of course, you get lots of Incarnation sermons, but rest assured that Jesus Christ does not trace his beginning to the first Christmas Eve in Bethlehem. Jesus is the eternally begotten Son. He was not made by the Father. He has no beginning. He is not a creature. As the Creed tells us, he was begotten, not made. In the Incarnation, 2,000 years ago, Jesus stepped into time and space. He stepped into creation. He emptied himself and stepped into our broken humanity. But he did not become the Son of God. He was always the Son, before all ages. He is the eternal Son who has no beginning. He is not a created being. He is the Creator himself, through whom all things were made. He was before all worlds, light of light, very God of very God. Jesus has eternally flowed from his Father with no starting point. Just as the writer of Hebrews tells us, he is the radiance of the Father's glory. And so some of the early church fathers compared Jesus to the light of the sun, which continually flows from the sun and cannot be separated from it. In the same way, Jesus has continually flowed from the Father as the Word, the Logos, the very logic, rhyme, and reason of God himself, the exact image and nature and likeness of the Father. Because just as is the Father, so is Jesus Christ, the eternal God, the sovereign Son. But even the light and the sun metaphor, every metaphor ultimately breaks down. No metaphor can fully explain the mystery of the Trinity. He's not three parts of one God. He's one God in three persons. He's not one day the Father, then the Son, then the Spirit. No, simultaneously three persons, continually one God, one essence, one being. The Trinity is a crazy mystery. We're going to be exploring it forever. But when we talk about Father and Son, one was not before the other. When we talk about Father and Son relationship, we're talking about roles that, together with the Spirit, best define the relational nature of the persons of the Godhead. The Father is the Father of the Son. The Son is the Son of the Father. Okay, that shouldn't be rocket science here, but in no way are we saying that Jesus has a point of origin. He is co-eternal with the Father, of the same essence, of the same substance. Unlike the greatest heresy ever to hit Christendom, the heresy of Arianism, the heretic Arius, he said there was a time when Jesus was not. The fact is that the Father and Son roles define the relationship, but again, the begottenness of Jesus does not suggest that he ever had a starting point. This begottenness of Jesus is eternal. There was not a time in which Jesus didn't exist. That's why the church would go to clarify this concept called the eternal generation of the Son. That this is an eternal begottenness. It has to do with his relation to the Father, but not his starting point. Now, yes, there was a point in time in which Jesus was made man in the Incarnation. He stepped into creation. But for eternity before that, he was always the eternal Son, always flowing in the Father. So even begottenness is a metaphor that can break down eventually in dealing with the mysterious nature of the inner workings of God. Because unlike human reproduction, where someone has a beginning and an origin on their first birthday, the Son has eternal origin. He has no beginning, no starting place. Okay, but still, this begottenness is a way to maintain, as the early church fathers saw, the tightest analogy of the father-son relationship. Begottenness speaks of his eternal identity as son. He can't be identified apart from the Father, and the Father is specifically eternally identified as Father, because he is the Father of the Son. The Trinity never identifies themselves apart from relation to one another. There was never a God, some nebulous God energy force, who wasn't Father. There was never a time before he was Father. He was always Father. There was never a time before he was Son. The Son wasn't generated by the Father's will as an act. He is the Son out of the Father's eternal being. He didn't come out of the Father. He exists in the Father, and the Father in him, and now he in us. The Trinity is also not a hierarchy. The one verse that the Arians and people who deny the divinity of the Son, they try to cling to, is Jesus' statement in John that the Father is greater than I. But Jesus isn't saying the Father is more God than him. In his earthly life as the sacrificial Son, Jesus emptied himself, laid aside the fullness of his glory that he could have been rolling in order to step down and rescue us, as Paul so clearly tells us in Philippians. But he was still fully God while walking on planet Earth. He says to see me is to see the Father. And his whole thing was to bring us into that eternal glory that the Father and the Son had together in the very beginning. And look, there is surely not some eternal subordination, even as some evangelical leaders so wrongly and heretically teach, whereby the Son is always going to be less than or subservient to the Father in his role or his function. Now, evangelicals, they wouldn't say that Jesus is a lesser substance than the Father, but they say he will always be less than the Father in his role, in his function, and that's kind of a way that they use to, beat their wives into submission. But look, that's a ridiculous doctrine called the eternal functional subordination of the Son. To even say his function is less than the Father is to really say his essence is less than the Father, because act and being cannot be clinically separated. It takes a certain type of person to do a certain type of work. Look, in neither his role, his function, nor in his being, his essence, neither of which, none of these, in no way is Jesus ever lesser than the Father. Both are of the same eternal God stuff. Let me give you a general rule of thumb this Christmas, all right? Anybody who ever tries to diminish Jesus or his work in any way is full of reindeer turds, okay? The line between reality and delusion always rests solely on one simple question: who do you say I am? And so we celebrate with great joy that eternity has broken into the temporal, that infinity, that infinite joy has intersected our finite brokenness, that peace has intersected our turmoil, rest has invaded our strife, the grand celestial party has rolled in to roll away the stone of our mourning, and the dawn of a new creation has broken. The eternal God, in all his eternal fullness, has stooped down to assume our creaturely limitations and shatter them once and for all, plunging us headlong into the eternal bash. This is better news than you could comprehend. While your Christmas is put together, you're never going to wrap your head around this one. The angel said it's the most joyful news ever to touch down on planet Earth. The best we can muster up is wordless wonder. Too good to be true. We can't even believe it. Thank God we're not saved by faith. We are saved by 100% grace, a free gift, before we ever tried to wrap our heads around this. And this gift not of ourselves, the gift of God's own eternal self. So guys, have a wonderful Christmas with your family. And from our family to yours, Merry Christmas. and catch all of our events for the coming year at thenewmystics.com/schools. I'm in Charlotte next month in January, as well as France and Poland. You can find our marriage retreat in Hawaii if you'd like to fly down with us in February. I'm in Springfield, Illinois in April, and in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in May. I'm in Bristol, UK in June. I'm in Ireland in August. We have a men's retreat in Isla, Scotland next summer, and conferences with C. Baxter Kruger in Aberdeen, Scotland, as well as in Las Vegas, Nevada. And that's all we have on tap for my sabbatical year. So find something you like and come join us. And also consider making a big fat year-end donation to Sons of Thunder Ministries and Publications, and we will give you a hefty tax write-off for 2017. As you know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we just cut the ribbon and launched our brand new children's home in the Philippines. Now this, together with all of our other missions and our other orphanage project in India, it keeps us busy. And all these kids, they like to eat every month. That's the thing about orphans. They still like to eat even after that one offering you gave in a meeting 6 months ago. So consider partnering with us. Giving is a lifestyle and being a tangible part of what we're doing with the poor, and expect a big, fat, glorious return in your life. I mean, call me a prosperity preacher, but this gospel ain't a poverty gospel, and the scripture always appeals to our expectancy in giving. So we spread that prosperity to the poorest of the poor, and we expect to live it ourselves. So guys, thanks for thinking of us in your year-end giving, and thanks for actually being a part of the team and not just a viewer. God bless you guys. Have a wonderful Christmas with your family.
Sons of Thunder runs on partnerships and generous contributions from people like you. If you've been blessed by the ministry and want to participate in sharing the gospel and reaching the poor with us, consider becoming a monthly supporter at thenewmystics.com/partners.